Starting stream.
Starting stream. Hey Lauren, you be live. Lauren, you are live.
Hi, good morning everybody, or good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to the second live dive of today. Now we have myself, Lauren, from Scotland as your underwater biologist. We have Rian on camera from South Africa, and we have my boy Patrick from Australia as your surface biologist. So today we're going to bring you a dive live from the very ocean in a place called Casuarina Point on the west side of Grand Cayman. So right now we're in the very shallows at 4.5 meters, and today we're here to connect you with the nature. So please feel free to send in any questions you may have on the diveLIVE Facebook, the diveLIVE Twitter using that hashtag diveLIVE, or the diveLIVE YouTube. So I have something very exciting to show you. So say hi, Pat, and we're going to show you a shoal of squid, or should I say a squad of squid.
Yes, hello and welcome everybody, and we're very excited to have the Paddy's YouTube page joining us today. Now, we do apologise, we don't have the capacity to monitor both YouTube streams at the moment, so we are taking questions on the diveLIVE YouTube page.
Yes, we look forward to answering all your questions as best as we can. So please make sure you ask them relevant to what we're seeing. And right now, at 3 meters, we are seeing a shoal of squid. Now, these are Caribbean reef squid, and they look like they are all here together to do a mating ritual. They have all formed up in a line, and as far as my eyes can see, I can see 8 different squid all here. Oh, sorry, make that 9. So, squid are very closely related to octopus, and they are cephalopods. So here, you can see this really unique... Ooh, yep, they're definitely doing a mating ritual. So you can see this unique body shape, which consists of a big bulbous mantle with 2 very large eyes, one of the largest body size in the whole animal kingdom, and their tentacles. So in that mantle you will find their reproductive organs, their digestive organs, their gills, their ink sac, and a pen. So right now they are signaling to one another through colour changes. Now what they're signaling is most likely what sex they are, whether it's male or female, and that they're ready to mate. Because with squid, you will find them in different habitats throughout their life. When they're first born, they will hide in the very shallows amongst the vegetation as juveniles. Then as they get older, they start to sort of hide amongst the seagrass, and they don't stay too shallow because they don't want to get snapped up by the birds. And then as they're older, they will go off into the much deeper waters. But the ones you just saw now, the reason I know they're most likely mating is because we found them here in the shallows on top of the reef. And this is what they do when they're ready to mate with one another. They do not become sexually mature until around 6 months. So Pat has a really good analogy about squid, so come on, why don't you share it?
Yeah, so we do call squid the rock stars of the ocean because they do live fast and die young. So they have a very short lifespan, about 1 to 2 years. And in this time, the males will mate with a lot of females, just like a rock star would. And they also leave behind a lot of unparented children. Now, unfortunately for the females, after they give birth, they will pass away.
Yeah, so squids are semiparous. They have actually disappeared on us but we're still just going to hang around the shallows. So semiparis means that once the females lay their eggs, they die. And it was thought for a while that they die of starvation because they look after their eggs so well that they actually do not feed. So they are starved, but that's not what kills them. Their cells actually start to commit suicide, if you like, cellular level suicide. It starts in the eyes and ripples right through the body, and that is in fact what kills them.
Now, I think that squid must feel love a lot because they actually have 3 hearts. So, of these hearts, one will pump blood to the gills specifically, and then the others will pump blood around the rest of their organs.
So yeah, just to clarify on that, it's actually 2 hearts that are right next to the gills, and their function is to enrich the blood with oxygen. They will then pump the blood to the main heart, and the largest heart in the middle's job is to pump that enriched blood full of oxygen around the body. And their blood is actually blue in colour, not red like ours, and that is because it is copper based and not iron based. So we have hemoglobin in our body, which is iron based. They have hemocyanin, which is copper based, and this is for sort of living and thriving in cold and low oxygen water. Now I have just spotted something, and it's 3 flamingo tongues all together on one little gorgonian. I'll just let Rian get into that. Let me know when you're able to see it, Pat.
Yes, we can start to see them now. So we have 3 flamingo tongues. Now they might look a little different, but that's because these spots on the shell are actually their mantle. They're not on the shell themselves. They are the mantle, which is the bit that secretes the shell. So they've just pulled that over the shell, and that's where those spots come from.
Yeah, so just to give you a background on them, they are snails, if you like, and the grouping of false cowries. So these little shells you can see actually have animals living inside. So what Pat meant was that the snail's mantle is actually what's given this beautiful coloration on the shells. A lot of people think that they are just beautifully patterned shells, but they're not. The shell itself is pure white, and this is so unusual because normally you find flamingo tongues in pairs, male and female pairs. So it's really unusual to see 3 like this. I'm not quite sure what they are doing together, but most likely they will be feeding. So these ones are very small. They're definitely not bigger than an inch. And an inch is sort of the maximum size that you will see a flamingo tongue.
And they are sitting there on their favourite food, the gorgonians. So they actually eat these gorgonians by breaking them down through secreting toxins and acids that will it will degrade the gorgonian, and then they will consume it that way. So a lot of the time they will actually eat them right down to their axial skeleton. And what is amazing about this is that the toxins contained in the gorgonians will actually be absorbed into these flamingo tongues, and they use that as their own defense.
Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it? And I mean, in the ocean, there's no point in being toxic unless you're going to advertise it, unless you're going to say, hey, I'm all colourful, I'm full of toxins, don't eat me. There's no point in keeping quiet about it. So these flamingo tongues are mottled and colourful like this to advertise the fact that they're not really yummy and they're full of toxins. However, the giant hogfish, one of our regularly sighted residents here, this is their favourite snack. So they will sort of snack on flamingo tongues.
And this is a great shot we're getting. We can see their 2 little antennae there and their foot. So their foot is that bit that's actually clinging on to the gorgonian, and that is what they use for movement or locomotion. Now, Lauren, we have a question here.
Yes?
It's from Lara Moore, and she wants to know why they're called flamingo tongues. I don't actually know this one.
I don't actually know either. I do imagine it's because they're so elaborately coloured, which is where the flamingo comes from, and obviously their sort of foot looks like a tongue, but that is just a guess. I have no idea. We can check that one for you, and we do have an awesome sighting here of a Christmas tree worm. So I will move out the way and let Rian get in there for you. So the Christmas tree worm here is nestled in amongst a coral, and it may look like you are seeing two worms, but you are not. You are just seeing one Christmas tree worm, which has two crowns, if you like, and those crowns are what looks like Christmas trees, which is exactly where they get their name from. So Christmas tree worms are segmented worms, and they're in a group with 13,000 others. So it's a large group of worms, and these guys, the perfect analogy to sort of describe them is an iceberg. So what you're looking at is literally just the tip of the iceberg. 2/3 of the animal is buried deep in a little bunker in the coral. Now, just to clarify, these animals don't actively bury into the coral. When they're a larvae, when they're a juvenile, they will actually nestle against the polyps of a coral and almost force the coral to grow over them, and that provides their home for life. They're sessile organisms, so they do not move. Now, there are separate male and female Christmas tree worms, separate sexes, but we will not be able to see that to the naked eye. So these beautiful Christmas trees that you can see come in a huge range of colours, and this is how they feed and breathe. So they do harness oxygen for the worms, and all along the Christmas tree crowns are little hairs called cilia, and they're covered in mucus. And this sticky mucus will capture food that drifts past in the water, sift through it, so some will be edible, some will not be, and then like a conveyor belt it will just pass all the food to the mouth. And that is how these little guys work.
And, sorry if I pronounce this wrong, but Sammy Jane wants to know, do they move around?
No, they're sessile. So what sessile means is they do not move, just like coral and sponges. They are completely fixed to one place for life. So they have to choose their coral wisely, I guess. And there's been lots of studies that look into the fact of why do they choose the coral that they do, because it seems to be quite specific, and they do believe it's one or two reasons. One being that the coral itself may actually help them in their sort of reproduction of broadcast spawning. And the second one, which I feel is most likely, is that they want to avoid accidental predation by those big old parrotfishes that come by and take chunks out the coral. So they want to make sure that they aren't accidentally bitten off.
Now, Lauren, you did just touch on this, but maybe we can talk about it in a little more depth. Lara Moore wants to know, how do they breed if they can't move?
How do they breed?
Yeah.
Well, yes, so they release their eggs and sperm. If you remember, I just mentioned they're separate sexes. So they will just release their eggs and sperm into the water column, which is called broadcast spawning. And the gametes, if you like, will sort of float around as plankton, and they will obviously eventually become fertilized, and then they will rest and nestle in amongst the coral, and that is the start of their life.
And now, Sammy Jane was asking what are the yellow tube corals there. I don't believe they're actually corals, they are sponges. Yes,
yeah.
just there.
The yellow one is a yellow tube sponge. And if Rian can maybe have a look inside, there might actually be something interesting inside. Normally these animals are homes to all sorts of organisms that are hiding out inside. Is there anything interesting there, Pat?
We can see a couple of little gobies hanging out there in the sponges, but nothing overwhelmingly great.
Well, these tube sponges are just as yellow as they probably look. They're a fantastic colour. And although sponges might seem a tad boring to some, I think they're fantastically interesting. They are the second most dominant sessile organism that make up the coral reefs, and they are actually fundamental to the structure of a coral reef. And sponges that we use in our house to clean are actually designed from these sponges. A long time ago, they used to take these sponges from the water, and that's what they would use to clean. So let's get a nice close-up of a sponge, and we can explain them in a little bit more detail. We'll try and find a different kind of sponge for you.
That shouldn't be hard. The sponge diversity here is insane. There is a lot of different types and shapes and forms and colours of sponges.
Yeah, so you did just see the yellow tube sponge, so we're going to try and show you a different sponge. There's a little bit of a current here today, so we can slightly feel that being in the shallower waters. So while we're trying to find a nice sponge, we'll keep giving you information on sponges. And they are known as pore bearers because they do have lots of little holes all over them, and they actually draw in water this way, and this is how they feed. So the pores will draw in water and they filter feed out all the food. And would you believe it, we can't actually find the sponge right now. No, this cannot be right. Okay, we've got one. Oh, we've got a big porcupine fish up here. Oh, it's been a while since we've had a porcupine fish. Oh, this is a big one. Can you see it, Pat?
Yes, so we can see that one there, just floating about with its big puppy dog eyes.
It's just hanging out in the water column. Normally these fish can be a little bit shy, but this is the porcupine fish, and it kind of gets grouped together in the pufferfish grouping. And this is because they are able to puff themselves up like big balloons, and they do have spines covering their whole body. And this is where the porcupine part comes from. So when they blow themselves up, they look like a spiky balloon. Are we able to are you still getting a good view of this little guy?
Yeah, it has swam away a little bit, but it isn't moving very fast, although it is.
Yeah, they're quite shy. We're going to try and get a little bit closer. So they are able to puff them. Oh, there's two of them. Oh, one of them is massive. Okay, we're going to get you closer to these two, hopefully.
And everybody's loving the fact that we have another porcupine fish sighting. The chat has just lit up with exciting comments.
Oh, I'm glad. I'm glad. So yeah, many people wonder how they puff themselves up, and they just rapidly pump in water into their stomachs. So they have extremely stretchy stomachs that is kind of all folded on top of each other and just ready to expand at any moment. So they pump in water really fast, and that is how they blow up like a big balloon. Now their skin is completely adapted for this. So it can actually stretch up to 40% because it has special collagen fibers to allow them to stretch. And they lack some ribs, and they also don't have a pelvic bone, which means that they can expand at any point. And it's just the perfect defense against predators. The minute they feel like they're in danger or they need to escape, they just go bloop, blow up like a balloon, and then obviously the predator would not be so keen on eating them anymore. But that's not all. They actually have another defense mechanism. So their flesh contains a toxin. This toxin is called tetrodotoxin, and it's built up in their flesh, and it's said to be almost 1,200 times more potent than cyanide. So eating these porcupine fish is actually a delicacy in some parts of Asia, especially Japan. And to be a chef that actually prepares this dish, you have to be really well trained. And even then, there are still a number of deaths per year in Japan of people who eat this flesh. Isn't that interesting?
That is very interesting. And Henk was asking, well, Henk noticed that they look like a Toby fish and was asking if they are related.
A what fish, sorry?
A Toby fish.
I have never heard of that fish.
Okay, well they are. So they are in the same order. So they're not in the same family as the porcupine fish, but they are in the same order. So there is there is some relatedness there, but they are not very, very closely related.
How did you spell that one, Pat?
T-O-B-Y, Toby fish.
Oh, Toby fish. Alright. So I think it swam away. This one was a little bit shy. And another amazing thing about them, why I love them, not only do they remind me of my dog, but they're actually able to spurt out little jets of water really, really fast when they're trying to eat their prey, to knock them around a little bit and to stun their prey. So they just go, and their prey will kind of be knocked on its side, and they actually play with their food. They do not eat fish. And they will only eat crustaceans, mollusks, shellfish. They do not eat other fish, so they do knock them around a little bit before they eat them. So we're still only at 4 meters. We're still in the shallows. We're going to stay in the shallows, I think, and see what else we can find.
And now, Lauren, just while we're on the search for stuff, we have had Jacqueline and Henk asking this question the whole time, so I thought we better answer it when we get the chance. They wanted to know what is the difference between a school and a shoal.
Well, we actually got asked this in one of our first live dives, and honestly at the time we didn't know. So the terms are probably used very loosely and interchangeably, and probably incorrectly so, but they do have separate functions. So a school is when you refer to an aggregation of fish. So when you see a big group of fish together, you can sort of term it a school. A shoal is when all these fish that you see have came together for social reason. So it's not a random grouping, they're there for social reason. So they say that 1/4 of all fish species will shoal for their whole entire life, and half of all fish species will shoal for a part of their life. So yes, these words are different. It's a great question, and it stumped us the first time we heard it.
It most definitely is. Now, Lauren, I know that you did have to start this dive with a little less air than usual, so can we get an air check?
Yes, I have 100 bar, and Pat is correct. I did start the dive with a little bit less than normal, which was unfortunate, but right now I have 100 bar. So the visibility is not good today, that's why we're staying shallow. I became very fond of the shallows. We're starting to find a lot of interesting things here. And for those of you who have just joined us, Pat and I are playing a game. And we are trying to add to our ever-growing species list. So we're trying to find fish that we don't really know what it is, and Pat will identify it using the book. So let's have a look for that fish, the fish of the day.
Most definitely. We have been getting pretty good at this. I think we've almost got one every dive since we've started it. So that just shows how diverse the species here on this reef are.
Yes, we're getting really into it. And yeah, we are getting better at it. Because there's probably just a lot of fish that we don't actually know. So there's fish everywhere. So for those that are new, I'm trying to look for one that we haven't specifically spoken about during a live dive.
And we have a interesting sponge question here from James Richards. He wants to know, besides predation, what are the biggest threats to sponges?
Previously it would have been humans, because as I mentioned, they used to take sponges from the ocean and actually use them like you would a household sponge. But that all stopped the minute we kind of advanced and we got our normal household sponge that you can buy in the supermarket. So I would say that predation would be the biggest threat to sponges. The hawksbills love to just munch away on sponges, and it's said that they can actually eat up to 1,000 pounds, about 450 kilograms per year of sponges. And even the angelfish, they are omnivores, but up to 90% of their diet is sponges. So I would say predation. What about you, Pat?
Yeah, definitely predation. The only other factor I can really think of is pollution. So they are filter feeders and will take things out of the water for their food. Now, if you can imagine that the water quality is really bad, then they're probably ingesting a lot of toxins and a lot of things that they aren't really used to and therefore don't know how to deal with.
Yeah, that's correct. So humans, I guess, putting all these toxic chemicals into the water, that would absolutely affect sponges. Still having a look for this fish.
That's alright, we can take questions in the meantime because we've got plenty coming in. It's good to see.
Yeah, of course, pass them along.
Yeah, so good to see all these questions coming in. So, Lara Moore wants to know what mammals, what sea aquatic mammals we get around here.
We do get that question a lot. None. Yes, we don't really get dolphins and whales around here, unfortunately. I believe there is dolphins a little bit further out, especially the spinner dolphin species, but we never see them around this area.
And it looks like we have a barred hamlet right here on the dive.
Yeah, I thought we saw a barred hamlet. I can't actually see it right now.
It's playing a bit of a hide and seek game with us. Oh, there it is. Pop back out again.
We do love our hamlets. The barred one is probably the most common one that we see, but we are trying to work our way through all of the hamlet species that are present in the Grand Cayman area.
Now, hamlets are hermaphrodites, so they will have both male and female organs. So I guess we could call this one an it, because it's not really either a female or a male. But when they do mate, they will actually, one will take the role of a female and one will take the role of a male.
So what were the other questions, Pat, while we're searching for this fish?
Well, let me see what we have here.
Oh, look at this funny little, I think it's a juvenile blue tang. It's got really funny markings on it.
Whereabouts is it?
The little yellow fish.
Oh no, that is a 3-spot damselfish.
No.
Oh.
Over here, Rian.
Oh yes, it is. That's a very small blue tang. So they are yellow in their juvenile phase, but we can see this one must be starting to grow up a little bit because it's just got a little bit of a blue tint around its fins there.
It's still not the fish I was referring to, but that's okay. It's a little juvenile yellow blue tang here, but it has really funny markings on its body. I'm not actually sure what's happened to it. And this one here. There.
Oh yeah, wow.
So as Pat mentioned, the blue tang, which is really common around here, this is actually the juvenile phase of it, would you believe? So for the sort of royal blue, bright blue fish, the juvenile phase is completely bright yellow. which is just crazy. And as it gets older, it does change colour. So when it starts to go into adolescence, the blue will start to come out, and it will sort of be a pastel blue, and then it will go into a much deeper, almost royal blue. So these fish are herbivores, and they're always schooling around the reefs, and this is their juvenile phase. But that one in particular, it just has really strange markings on it.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, you go.
No, I was just going to ask if you can actually see what I'm talking about.
Yeah, no, I definitely can. I was just going to make a speculation. The shape of the markings there makes it look kind of like it's been bitten at. So maybe it's a bit of scarring, because it's kind of a semicircle on each side, which kind of fits the match of a predator's mouth.
Yeah, that's very possible. There's quite a lot of juvenile blue tangs here, but yeah, that's entirely possible. They're very cute little fish.
They are.
We still haven't found that one that we need you to ID yet, but it will come.
Yes, it will. So, Hank wants to know whether we see juvenile turtles here.
What was that? Can you repeat the question?
Do we see juvenile turtles?
Still have no idea what you're saying.
Hank was asking, do we get juvenile turtles here?
Oh, turtles, sorry. Sometimes my mask makes little noises. Yes, we do. And that's exactly what I'm trying to look out for now. So in this area, we often find small hawksbills. So they're not juvenile hatchlings, as in the baby hatchling, but they are termed juvenile because normally I think they're about maybe 5 to 10 years old, possibly. So yes, we do.
And we'll take one more random question while we're looking for this fish. So, Proud Cat Mama wants to know how the hurricanes affect sea life.
The hurricanes would have quite a big impact on the coral. So a lot of the coral here are very fragile, and actually Rian is right above the most fragile species that we have. What a coincidence. And this is a branching type, commonly called the staghorn coral, and the species is Acropora cervicornis. Now, this particular type of coral is really important to the reefs, but it's incredibly fragile. So a lot of hurricanes that have came through the area have completely wiped out this coral because it is so fragile. I mean, it can be knocked over by a wave or even a turtle's flipper. That's how fragile it actually is. So both Pat and I have noticed a lot of really healthy, thriving Acropora colonies, and we do believe it is because of the recent efforts of a coral regeneration program. So that was perfect that we were just hovering above that at that time. But yes, hurricanes can really damage the corals. And there is a theory, due to a hurricane, that's actually why the invasive lionfish is here. So whether that's correct or not, we don't know. But that does just show you it can affect the marine life, the coral, and even the fish. It can move fish to a different location where they're not supposed to be.
So the colours are actually coming across really great today. I know that it's not the best visibility, but the colours of the reef are really sticking out to me today. I don't know whether it's because I'm in a good mood or whether it's...
Yeah, no, it does seem really colourful today, particularly because we are in the shallows. But yeah, the visibility is great, but that's not great, sorry. But that's not going to stop us. So up ahead we have a cleaning station. So it would be really great if we could get some cleaning in action for you. So this sort of coral bombing up ahead has lots of little cleaner fish. And what we mean by that is little fish that have sort of taken on a job, if you like. Well, they don't get paid, but they've taken on a role on the reef, and that is to clean other fish. Fish need to clean themselves, just like we take a shower every day, or I hope most of us do. They will also get sort of algae growth on them. They will get ectoparasites growing on them. So it's a really important part of a fish routine to come to an area like this, to come to a bombing like this, and to be clean. So there's a lot of different cleaner fish here. The very small ones with the black and yellow stripe are cleaner wrasse. And they're basically just hanging around. They'll hover here all day and they will try and signal to the other fish, hey, come over here, I'm going to clean you. And it's an amazing relationship. These big fish that come in, which could range from big jacks to big barracudas even, they will never eat the cleaning fish. It's a complete symbiotic relationship where the cleaning fish will get lots of food by cleaning these animals, and the big animals get clean. So it's amazing, and this sort of big bombing that we have here is what we would call a cleaning station.
Yeah, it would be great if we got a fish coming through to get clean, so if you do see it, point it out.
They're not coming to clean me, so they must know I'm not a fish, which is a shame.
Or maybe you're already just clean enough, Lauren.
Oh, that's a better theory. So we will try and look for some cleaning in action, because there's cleaning stations all over, not just here, and it would be really great to show you some cleaning so that you know what I'm talking about. I think Rian's got some up ahead of the parrotfish, so let's see if we can get this for you. No, so sometimes when we get closer the cleaning does stop, but we will keep looking for you.
Now, Lauren, just ahead of us here, there is a big grooved brain coral there, and it looks like it's been pretty badly degraded. It looks like, I'm not sure whether it's been fed upon or what's happened there.
Oh, I think Rian's going to get you closer.
Yeah.
Yes, it's very damaged in the middle. Now, it wouldn't be possible to say what actually caused this damage. I would have taken a guess that it would be disease, but the disease seems no longer prevalent. But you can see the sort of really healthy greenish yellowish colour and all these meandering ridges and valleys. That is what we sort of loosely term a brain coral, and that part of it is alive. Now obviously this sort of top part of it that's grey and covered in algae, that part is obviously dead. So the whole thing was obviously a coral at one point, but for some reason this part has died, and I'm not able to say what it is. It could have been bleaching, not throughout the whole colony, and it could have been some disease that is no longer there. But how interesting.
Yeah. But it is good that this is a very rare site here at Casuarina Point. We don't often see degraded coral. In general, they're in pretty good nick.
Yeah, the corals are in really good shape here. I am surprised. I have done some research and I don't think the bleaching hit the Caribbean Sea too hard in compared to other areas of the world. And by bleaching, I mean the effects of the El Nino from 2016. So the corals here are really, really healthy. There's not so much diversity compared to, let's say, the Indo-Pacific. I think there is about 65 different species of hard coral, but still, they are very healthy.
And now, we have Proud Cat Mama asking, what is ocean acidification?
Oh, I think you'd be better to answer that one, Pat.
Yeah, sure thing. So I'll answer this one while Lauren looks out for more cool stuff. So ocean acidification is a process in that the ocean acidifies. It's that simple, but to elaborate on that a bit more, it's because of excess carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. So carbon dioxide, when it dissolves into water, lowers the pH of the water and makes the water more acidic. So because of the increased CO2, the CO2 gets absorbed into the water more and lowers the pH of the ocean. Now, as a lot of creatures in the ocean use calcium carbonate for their skeletons, the acidic water does react with the calcium carbonate and essentially degrade it. So it does affect these calcium carbonate bearing animals such as your corals and your crabs and crustaceans and mollusks.
That was a lovely explanation. You definitely did a better job than I could. So just to give you an update, I am on 70 bar. That's still enough time in these shallows to look around and see what we can see. But any questions you do have that is relevant, then please do send them in and we will try and answer them before we wrap up the dive.
Oh, looks like we got some fire coral there.
Yes, I'm just going to find this fish for you. It's amazing actually, we must have identified quite a lot of fish by now because I know that we've spoke about all these.
Yeah, we are doing a good job at mapping out this ecosystem, I think. But
finally, it took us a while, but we got there.
But then having said that, there's probably a plethora of species that we haven't seen and will probably never see because there is a lot of species that will hide away and never show themselves.
Yeah. There's so many things that we'd love to see. One of them being an octopus. Yes. That is at the top of our list. But unfortunately, these guys are just too good at hiding for us.
Now, right in front of us here, we can see that there's a gorgonian, but it's being overgrown by some fire coral.
Oh yeah, I can see that.
Yes. So fire coral, this is actually something that they do quite a bit. They will start to grow on another coral, usually a gorgonian, and actually take their form. So they are encrusting, but they can also come in a lot of different forms. But we can tell that this one is a fire coral because of those very fine hairs coming out. And they are actually polyps of the coral, and if they were to brush you, you would get a bit of a blister and a sting.
Yeah, a big blister and a big sting, I think.
As
so just
Lauren
to
knows.
sort of make sure you all know what Pat's talking about, the purple-looking sea fan is the gorgonian he was referring to, but just this sort of orangey, harder looking coral with the white tips. If I'm not going to get any closer, but if Rian can get the camera closer, you'll be able to see they're covered in fine little hairs, and that's exactly how we know it's fire coral.
Now, they are called corals, but they're not a true coral. They're actually hydroids. And what separates hydroids from true corals is that they have an alteration in generations. And what this means is that what we're seeing right now is a colony of them. And this colony, when it's ready to reproduce, will let off little jellyfish. And these jellyfish will actually hold the sperm and eggs. Now, the jellyfish will then release the sperm and eggs. It will form a zygote, and that will turn into a larva, which will settle and then turn back into a colony. So they actually have two different lifespans, which is just crazy.
Yeah, well spotted, Pat. Fire coral is a nasty one.
It is.
And it can be incredibly painful. I have experienced it, I hate to say. And it can blister for a long, long time. So it just goes to show exactly why you should never touch or be very, very close to the reef.
Yeah, and just on that, Hank was actually asking, how does humans touching corals affect them?
Oh, well, forgetting the fire coral, because as Pat mentioned, it's not true coral. Humans touching coral can absolutely devastate them. So I did touch on earlier that they can be really, really fragile. And one of the biggest problems to coral survival today is actually people standing on them. So sometimes people are not necessarily aware that they're there, or they're not aware that that is a coral. They might think, oh, that's a rock, or I can stand here. And they will literally stand with their flippers on. I'm obviously not standing on anything right now. And that can do so much damage. It can actually kill the whole colony. And a lot of reef destruction today can be put down to that. Now, not so many people touch coral with their hands because it can actually cut. It's really, really sharp, and it does contain stinging cells. It is in the same family as a jellyfish, remember? So if you were to touch it, it can be really, really painful. So I wouldn't say too many people touch it with their hands, but if they do, it can be devastating.
Yeah, most definitely. And on top of that also, that we can also transfer disease to coral as well. So obviously our diseases and coral diseases are completely different. So if we're exposing them to a pathogen that they've never dealt with before, it can really devastate them.
Yeah, unfortunately humans have caused quite a detrimental effect on coral life today. I just can't find this fish, Patrick.
We really have started to cover all bases.
We have. So is there any other questions before we wrap up?
Let me have a quick look here. Oh, this is actually a really nice one. Proud Cat Mama wants to know, what can we do to protect coral reefs?
Oh, well, I guess there's a lot we can do. We can be proactive. We can educate, for sure. Let people know about the damage we're doing. We can ensure that when we're snorkeling and diving, that we're never ever touching or standing or kicking or disturbing the reef. And there is a lot of research currently going on about sunscreen. So obviously everyone wants to protect their skin, especially when they're abroad in the hot sun. But studies have shown, particularly on the Great Barrier Reef, how damaging sunscreen is. It contains a lot of chemicals that can actually kill the coral reef. So nowadays there is products which are called reef safe or reef friendly. So that means that they do not contain such chemicals. So you can buy different sunscreen, and it's worth looking into that now. When you are going abroad or going on vacation, it's worth choosing your products wisely. Pat, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, definitely. So there's the obvious things like volunteering if you are near a reef. So volunteering to do reef cleanups, which are a pretty common thing. And you can also help reduce your impact on the environment as well by controlling your carbon dioxide and electric emissions. So this all affects corals, as I touched on with ocean acidification and global warming. Both of these processes really do hurt corals. So just being more conscious of your impact on the environment in general will also come back to corals.
Yeah, so there is many things that you can do. So that's a really good question. Thank you for that. I appreciate that one. We appreciate all your questions, and we're not always able to answer you, or sometimes we maybe get it slightly wrong, but it's a learning process for Pat and I too. It would take a lot to know absolutely everything there is to know about the ocean. So we are still learning as we go, and we hope that the knowledge we can share with you makes a difference. Now, I apologise for not getting that fish. It just did not happen today. Today was not the day for identifying the fish, but I am on 50 bar. So it is time to wrap up today's dive. So this means I am almost out of air, and me and Rian will do our safety stop, and I'll go back up to the surface where apparently I belong. So thank you everyone who joined us today. We have opened up to a whole new audience. Thank you for all the really awesome questions today. And we will be back tomorrow at 7 a.m. Grand Cayman time. So thank you, Rian. Thank you, Pat, wherever you are. And thank you, diveLIVE family. See you soon.
Thank you, Lauren. Your knowledge still continues to astound me. And thank you, everyone, for coming along on this dive.